one of the other stories here that kind of turned into a bit of an interesting sort of run as well has been, the fact that if you look at the points right now, I mean, Mitch Marner is he's within 1 point, I think, of Austin Matthews. He's played 5 fewer games, and I know the whole argument about how he's played with more experienced players, mostly compared to Austin Matthews. I got to ask you, though, how much of I think a lot of times this year when we've talked about the Rookie of the Year race, we've talked about Laine versus Matthews, Laine versus Matthews, Matthews versus Laine. Every now and then Marner comes in, but if this is a three-way, it does turn into a bit of a three-way tussle for Rookie of the Year. Is there a chance that perhaps this works out to Patrick Laine's benefit?
It could. I mean, to me, it depends how much people really want to sit back and analyze it. I mean, the voters, because in this particular case, I mean, these two guys, I mean, their point totals aren't fueled together. They're rarely really on the ice at the same time. So, what's been interesting is about both their seasons that they've both been so productive, but it's been in separate situations. They're not picking up assists on the other's goals and what have you too often. But I do wonder in general how the Toronto factor, will it hurt or help either of them? I mean, it's a tough one to call. I really think this year, I mean, I'm still leaning towards the center at this point. If I had to vote today, I would still be voting for Austin Matthews myself. I think that he's had to take on more, and he's been extremely productive, but it's not by a landslide in any way. And it's kind of interesting that some could probably make a case he isn't the best rookie on his team, let alone the whole league. And, I think this will probably be the toughest award to vote on this year. I mean, the Hart looks difficult as well, because how do you fit Brent Burns in with Connor McDavid, maybe Sidney Crosby? But, I mean, these three guys, if one of them has a surge at the end, the last week of the year, that could probably make the difference in a lot of voters' eyes.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be an interesting race. I mean, Burns' year offensively, it's a type year we used to see from Paul Coffey in a lot of ways. And at some point, I mean, obviously McDavid and Crosby are going to dominate the discussion. But, at some point you just look at Burns' numbers, Chris, and you go, the weight of those numbers just sort of, it almost overwhelms in some ways what Sidney and Connor had done. And maybe I guess the difference is San Jose doesn't generally get the love that those other two teams get, right? Or the attention that those other two teams get.
Not in a normal year, although I think it probably helps them been in the Cup final last year, because there has been a little bit more talk about them inside the last calendar year. Probably the biggest obstacle for them is that it's been 20-odd years since Chris Pronger was the last defenseman to win that award, and I think that at times it's tough to quantify, because the defensemen do have their own award, and I don't think anyone's expecting anyone but Brent Burns to win the Norris at this point. Just where they fit in. And, it was a similar discussion when Carey Price won the Hart, because, goalies don't win that award too much, and they do have their own trophy as well, the Vezina. But, that to me will be interesting, because there might be some out there, I'm not one of them, who kind of fundamentally believe a defenseman has their own award, so that maybe they shouldn't be in this talk. But to me, when you're evaluating the player most valuable to his team, which is the criteria given for the Hart Trophy, I mean, Brent Burns has an awfully strong case at this point, and he could put up, basically almost historic type of numbers, especially if you factor in how few goals are scored now compared to some earlier generations in the league.
I'll tell you the other award that's going to be interesting too is the Adams Award, because you look at the Ottawa Senators right now, 6 straight wins, and you want to talk about big weeks. They've got 3 games left against Montreal, 2 of them this week. Guy Boucher, the job that he has done with the Ottawa Senators is really remarkable, and I don't think, and I'm sort of putting myself at the top of this. I think I've been really guilty of underselling and underestimating the Senators all season long. But you look at where they are right now, and I think a lot of that comes down to the coaching.
Well, they've certainly adopted a more defensive mindset, and it's been working for them. I mean, it helped that they're getting great goaltending, and even did when Craig Anderson was gone for that long stretch. Mike Condon helped keep them afloat, and a lot of people I think have looked at the Senators throughout the last month or two and expected a fall off, and they've found a way to keep clawing. Even for a brief moment there, knocked Montreal out of first in the division for the first time in 100 days or more when they won on Saturday. And it's been a special season there. Usually that award, and the writers don't vote on it, but usually that award goes to almost the guy who coaches a team unexpectedly to a higher spot. And Guy Boucher fits that criteria. I mean, man, what about John Tortorella? To me, he's got a pretty good case, especially given everything that went on, even the World Cup, the way he entered the season. No one expected anything of the Blue Jackets, and they're on pace probably for 110, 112 points at this stage.